A record number of early votes have been cast in Georgia on Tuesday as residents headed to the polls in a critical battleground state that is grappling with the fallout from Hurricane Helene and controversial election administration changes that have spurred a flurry of lawsuits. Like and subscribe NewzClub for more updates. More than 328,000 ballots were cast Tuesday, Gabe Sterling of the Georgia Secretary of State's office said on X. So with the record-breaking first day of early voting and accepted absentees, we have had over 328,000 total votes cast so far, he said. The previous first-day record was 136,000 in 2020, Sterling said. The swing state is one of the most closely watched this election, with former President Donald Trump trying to reclaim it after losing there to President Joe Biden by a small margin 4 years ago, leading Trump and his allies to unsuccessfully push to overturn his defeat. Those efforts have loomed large this year as new changes to how the state conducts elections have been approved by Republican members of the state election board, leading Democrats and others to mount legal challenges, many of which have yet to be resolved even as Election Day nears. Parts of the state are continuing to recover from Hurricane Helene, which hit the U.S. last month and wreaked havoc on several other states in the southeast. Georgia election officials say absentee ballots went out by the U.S. Postal Service as scheduled and were not impacted by the storm. So far, we have seen just over 250,000 voters request absentee ballots. Perhaps in the next week or so, we'll see that rise up to 300,000. And that we think will probably look like around 5 to 6% of all voters will be voting absentee this cycle, Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, a Republican, said on Tuesday. Experts say that some new state laws that tightened rules for absentee ballots and cracked down on the availability of drop boxes may make the option less appealing than early in-person voting. While many drop boxes were available 24/7 in 2020, this year there will be fewer of them, and they will be in election offices or early vote locations with hours that tend to mimic normal business hours. It's also possible that the state could continue to see high numbers of early votes given that Georgia law now mandates 2 Saturdays of early voting and allows for 2 Sundays of early voting if a county desires. Raffensperger said Tuesday that safeguards are in place for a safe election and that in addition to every race being audited, officials will also randomly audit voting equipment to inspect. Raffensperger, who was in Trump's crosshairs following the 2020 election, recertified the results after a statewide machine recount in December 2020 that confirmed that Biden beat Trump by just 11,779 votes out of nearly 5 million ballots cast in the Peach State.